The Chinese community in South Africa is not large. In fact, they number less than 10,000 who are scattered all over the country, with the largest concentrations in Johannesburg, Port Elizabeth, and Pretoria. They come from the area which is Taiwan. They are mostly Cantonese or Moanese. They are South Africans. In Johannesburg, car parks take a sizable bite out of Chinatown. It's old, it's run down, and the Chinese refer to the whole place as the club. On the whole, their solemn faces belie their natures because they are fun-loving people. They laugh at themselves, and they believe this ability has helped them through the difficult years to a happier place in South African society. The difficult years were those when their 5,000 years of culture and their education in their homeland meant nothing on this foreign soil. There was the agony of making a start. 86-year-old Mrs. Fung remembers how it was in Pretoria when she came in 1914.
Yes, she was very lonely on her own.
They hid their shyness and uncertainty and were called inscrutable. And their beginnings were like those related by Pastor Arthur Song.
In fact, my father came before the Boer War. I remember very well how he used to tell us that he always had a pointer in his shop, and he would give the pointer to the customer to point out which article they wanted to buy, because he couldn't speak the language.
The indentured Chinese were another story, but a long-held misconception must be finally cleared and the record set straight. In 1904, during a period of famine and unrest in China, 63,000 workers were recruited there and indentured to work on the Transvaal mines. They hated their restricted living conditions. They were never free of supervision. But their main complaints were that their own police were brutal and their overseers robbed them of their pay. These grievances resulted in rioting. Little is known of these men. Circumstances in China forced a mixed bag to apply for work in South Africa. But nearly 3/4 of a century later, one realizes how strong must have been their sense of isolation and homesickness. On the lined pages of a cheap notebook, an unknown artist among them expressed his loneliness and longing the only way he knew. When finally their petitions nearly toppled the British government, they were sent home. From homes like these, ranged along the rivers, came the immigrants. They came with hopes of opportunity, and they brought their traditions, their festivals, and their great ability to learn. By 1925, they had progressed sufficiently to form a businessman's association, and convinced that education was a basic essential for a good life, they opened the first Chinese school. It opened in Ferreira's town, the Malay camp as it was known then, in 1928. Teachers and pupils watered and stamped the ground to make their first basketball court. And after that, there was no end to their joy. People who had a basketball court could know something of pride. They could be champions. They had a school spirit, even though their playground was a mine dump. Funds collected by the community went to building and equipping a new school to which they moved in 1950. A school with green lawns and a fountain. A school with a full-sized basketball court. Then the city closed in like an octopus. There is no more green lawn. Only part of the basketball court remains. But nothing has destroyed the enthusiasm or pride of this school, or in any way changed its standards, because for some reason, the results at this school are higher than average. The school starts at kindergarten age. In the grades, in addition to the normal curriculum, Chinese calligraphy is squeezed in. By the time they're in standard 2 or 3, they're well on their way to learning the 3,600 syllables they need to know in order to write the language. And their calligraphy is beautiful.
Exercises on antonyms and synonyms in tomorrow, second period. Good afternoon, Standard 7. Good afternoon.
Somehow, to the crowded curriculum, a small amount of Chinese history is added. School activity flows like a tide about them, but the little ones are absorbed in their own world, even wearied by it sufficiently to rest, supposedly to sleep.
Sufficient heat being given off, and what else do we need for burning? We need the oxygen, right? So now we're going to try it. Just sprinkle a little water over this and see what happens.
Hitler certainly did not let the grass grow under his feet and proceeded to ride roughshod over the people's sacred rites and customs. To let the grass grow under your feet? Not to wait, not hesitate, right? He didn't hesitate to do what?
-8 equal 3. Carol, can we have you on the blackboard to do this problem? Consider case 1. Positive. Hence we have x equal to 11.
Hier niet. Daarom gebruik ons maar nog die oude. Clifford? Terwijl dit reën,
Assist the government in the border areas and the independence of the homelands. Thank you, class. That's all for this morning. Morning, class.
An economics lesson draws to a close. Mr. Fock, the principal, talks about this class and the school in general.
They're wonderful children. The main aim of the Chinese school is to instill into the children a knowledge of Chinese literature and culture. We lay equal emphasis on intellectual, spiritual, and physical development of the children. Not only the school founders, but our present school committee and staff try to fulfill this aim of making the children who are born in South Africa know and speak Chinese. The school motto is courtesy, demeanor, integrity, and humility.
Is this another way of saying, as Confucius did, let youth practice filial duty, let it practice fraternal duty, let it earnestly give itself to being reliable, let it be particularly fond of manhood at its best. Any surplus energy may be used for book learning. For a long time, Consul General Lo has been the central figure of this community. He has slowly, and with the innate tact of his race, opened a path for our Chinese citizens and given us a view of them we'd not seen before.
I know our community very well. As well, I was here 23 years ago, sent my government as the consul of the Chinese Consulate General in Johannesburg for 2 years. Then I came again in 1966 as Consul General in Johannesburg for about 5 years. Then I came back here again November last year as the second tour of the Chinese Consul General. So for the past 20-odd years, I watched the community's improvement gradually, and I must say that the position has really been very much improved.
Most people equate the Chinese with Buddhism, and there are many in whom this faith runs deep, who still include the spirits of the departed in every festivity. The younger generation, while not subscribing to these beliefs, are not intolerant of their parents' views.
Twice a day, but we don't know why we do it. But the photograph at the back contains 3 men, and I don't really know what they stand for. They're there because our folks tell us to put it there. They don't explain, well, we've lost the meaning of it all.
A great proportion of the South African-born community are Christian.
There are a lot of Chinese in the congregation. Many of these Chinese are first, second generation Catholics. Since 1958 or even before that, many of our Catholic schools were taking Chinese pupils. And today, the Catholic Chinese community in Johannesburg numbers about 1,300 people.
I, Noreen, take you, Kenny,
A Catholic wedding service of a modern couple who will run a Western home on Christian principles.
and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Traditionally, in China, she would have worn red satin, and she would have been bound to her love with a thread of red silk. Some of the traditions survive. On the morning of this Catholic wedding service, red lacquer boxes arrive, true to custom. Sent by the bridegroom's family, they contain all manner of gifts, all of them in several pairs. And swiftly, the bride's family return a single pair of each gift and send other pairs of their own. And back go the red boxes to the in-laws. The red wedding invitation is another tradition, for the Chinese say that red is the color of joy.
I think the Chinese community, as a community, has the greatest percentage of university students and university graduates. Unfortunately, over the years, especially for the last 15 years or so, there has been a steady flow of Chinese immigrating overseas, especially to Canada. And we have lost many professional people, doctors, accountants, civil engineers, architects.
You see, after all, they are local born, they are South African, they're welcomed by the local society. Well, they should be remaining in this country to serve the local community and the country.
Another Confucius saying, to remain unconcerned though others do not know us, that is to be great man. But not to be recognized for your achievements or what you have to offer has brought frustration. Only recognition of their value will prevent them from being part of the brain drain.
I'm doing a BCom general, but I'm hoping to do legal after my BCom.
Those who have broken through to the top have distinguished careers.
My name is Rodney Mann,
and I work for the largest gas producer in the country. I started off as an operations analyst and am at present heading my own department responsible for the total planning activity in the company. As an example of our planning for our industrial...
He achieved honours. He will soon earn a master's degree. And he has the sort of mind that will go on learning. Generations of scholars are in the Chinese lineage. Disciplined minds find practical applications for knowledge.
The country's electrode requirements. I have in fact been busy installing a computer system at this factory, and this system is at present controlling all
having been qualified since May last year. Rodney and I are both staying in South Africa. We think there's a future for us here in South Africa.
Yeah. We're talking about the railing.
Yeah. As their acceptance by the community becomes happier, more graduates are staying, more trained personnel are staying, and their much-needed talents are flowing into the mainstream of our society.
How many jobs and mum have you got?
Well, this is my second one.
Second one? Very good. It's better than the first.
Thank you. Sure will.
In all walks of life, these are people who throw themselves into their activities. The early spirit of competitiveness in basketball is still very much alive, and their good sportsmanship has earned them Springbok colours several times over. The schools have produced table tennis champions, but they want to feel that they play a more positive role in their country's destiny.
I'd love to go to the army. I'd like to support my country.
And I feel that it's only right that we should go into the army, because we are living in South Africa and reaping the benefits of this country.
Well, seeing that we are South African born and we're in South Africa, I think it's a duty to support our country and protect our country. And I think that we should be called up to the army.
As the Chinese absorb Western technologies and philosophies, Westerners are becoming aware that we too have something to learn.
I. Sleep is the drop this tray. This meaning, this is I, and the tray is...
The handful of people learning Mandarin feel that it will bring them closer to the subject they are studying, the medical science of acupuncture, the ancient practice of healing which has arrived here as a new import.
A stroke, it's left her partially paralyzed on the right side of her body. Now, the needles are inserted in specific points, which we call acupuncture points. By manipulating it manually or stimulating it electrically, one then achieves a certain effect in the body itself. And as you can see, it's not very painful. The needles are inserted.
For 3,000 years, this precise study has been used to treat every kind of illness. Today, some of our orthodox medical practitioners are studying its effects and beginning to apply the techniques.
Just using the manual stimulation as the traditional acupuncturist does. And we find that with the two working together, we do get better results.
Another awareness in the local scene has been Kung Fu. But Tai Chi, from which it is derived, is comparatively unknown. The slow movements are said to be a tonic for mind and body. A strong sense of duty towards the elderly is paving a way to provide a home for the aged.
We have just come from our committee meeting of the old age home. This is a project in which our church has become involved in trying to organize and finance an old age home for our people. Now, it has been customary for many centuries that our old people should stay with their families. But due to sociological changes and also various factors in our community life, we have felt the need to try and meet the needs of some of our old people.
For the many without support, there is grave concern. Old Mr. Ma Ming, once a teacher, and retired now for many years, ekes out his tiny pension by painting serene Chinese subjects. His hand is still steady, and he enjoys creating the delicate scenes, living in a tiny, dark room in a building only redeemed by a touch of greenery and a patch of sky. An industrious people, a farmer who gave up life in the commercial world for the hard sweat of intensive farming. This land he is working is his father's farm. It's rented land, and the problems he has are basic. The overhead irrigation took hard-earned savings and many sacrifices, but no loans are available to him. He feels that as a farmer providing food for a city, he should be eligible for the same treatment as other farmers. He was born in South Africa, but the sense of belonging that comes from owning a piece of land was denied him until recently.
Well, for the past year, we've been trying very hard to buy a little piece of land next door to where we are in Magaliesburg. And at last, in December, we heard the good news that it has come through and we can own that land. And while waiting, we had very great difficulty. We had to go around with a petition to ask everybody to sign it whether we are wanted in that area or not. And it was very humiliating, and it was a terrible thing to go around on a piece of paper to ask everybody for their signature whether they object to us living around them.
As he drives his truck before dawn to the market, does he think about all this? How does it match up to the work he does, providing food for a city, for the day in, day out grind? Some things change, some things stay the same. A baker makes Chinese dumplings as they've always been made, and the people are just like other people. They may sell Chinese foods or Chinese gifts, but they are a typical cross-section of any community. They are photographers. They manufacture plastics. They're sausage makers. They're printers. They're travel agents. A whole family of brothers manufacture contact lenses, sharing their knowledge and skill, taking pride in the precise workmanship. You'll find them tucked away in corners. And some of those corners they made for themselves a long time ago.
We've been living here for 40 years, almost 40 years. My father used to look after the business before, but now he's passed away, and we have taken over the business.
Businesses established a generation ago are now totally part of the familiar scene. Private enterprise is everywhere.
I just want to see whether they credit us for the returns.
My name is Tom Poon. I'm a partnership in this business. Well, straight after having left school, in order to start the business, there was a stage in my life where I had to work double shift, working 16 hours a day. And this is how we got to start this business. And as far as having learned this trade, I can almost say it's mostly self-taught.
Whatever else a race may discard in the country of its adoption, their culinary art remains. Out of the ubiquitous wok emerge the meals that have found their way into the Western diet. Hard work and good cooking have provided a living for many families. Some of the restaurants are exclusive and expensive. Others are more homely. But they offer a personal warmth more valuable than their menus.
What do you like to eat? Well, I've got a lunch. It's got some stuff.
And because the community likes to know about each other, they are kept informed by Consular Gazette.
The name of the newspaper is called Chao Sen Bao, in English, which means Overseas Chinese Voice. This is the only Chinese newspaper on African continent. And this newspaper is sponsored by the Chinese Consulate General for the purpose of provide the Chinese in South Africa a means of communication.
1976 saw the coming of His Excellency Mr. Kwan, a newly appointed ambassador from Taiwan. And to honor his arrival, the community celebrated with a performance of a Chinese opera. Trying to sum up the Chinese character, one thinks of exuberance, of determination and grit. Industrious, intelligent, diligent, yes. But their greatest asset is their zest for life. They enjoy living, and they pour into it every talent they possess. If they outgrow all their traditions, both they and we shall be the poorer for it. It is a measure of ourselves as a nation that we have among us these happy citizens.